The film starts with a Bible verse from Genesis 3:24 that mentions Adam and Eve's banishment from the Garden of Eden. A man kneels in front of a cross in prayer. He takes a leather purse from his pocket, sniffs it, and an image of a beautiful woman appears. The woman is wearing royal clothes and appears to be a queen. She gives the man a ring. The man opens the leather purse, and inside is the same ring given to him by the queen. He finishes his prayer, and his two companions accompany him to confront an ancient tribe hiding inside a cave. A fight ensues, and his two companions choose to retreat. However, they do not run far as the spears thrown by the native Mayan tribe soon kill them. The man rushes ahead and confronts the Mayans, fighting to get through so he can kill their chief, who is ascending a long flight of stairs. He fights valiantly, but is ultimately subdued and carried to the staircase. They throw him onto the stairs and spur him on to go up the stairs to the chief. The man confronts the chief, but is stabbed during the fight. Suddenly, the same man wakes up suspended midair in a floating bubble. He starts talking to a tree, saying he will not let it die. He takes a piece of the tree's bark and eats it. A voice is heard asking him to finish something which agitates him. In the present, Izzy arrives at the man's workplace. Izzy asks the man Tommy to join her for a walk since it is first snow. Tommy says some people are waiting on him and shouts at Izzy when she tries to insist. Izzy leaves and Tommy wants to follow her. But a colleague comes for him saying that Donovan is ready for surgery. Tommy is a medical researcher, and together with his team, they are working on finding a cure for brain tumors. Donovan is a lab monkey, and the team is experimenting on him to find a cure for the excessive growth in his brain. Antonio arrives with bad news that the treatment they were considering does not work on suppressing the growth. Two of the team members suggest that they euthanize Donovan because without the treatment, the growth in his brain will soon kill him. Tommy is frustrated and leaves the operation room. He tries to think about what to do next as the team stands around waiting for his instructions. Tommy looks up as if the roof opens, bathing him in a sudden light. Suddenly, Tommy remembers something about a compound they were experimenting with from a tree in Central America. The tree compound, which the team named as Natal Tortosa, is from Guatemala, and Tommy explains to Antonio his idea. Antonio gets to work testing the compound, and Tommy decides to inject Donovan with the untested compound against Betty's advice. After the operation, Tommy realizes that his wedding ring is missing and starts looking for it hysterically. Lillian comes to talk to Tommy while Antonio and Manny offer to help him look for the ring. Betty previously reported Tommy to Lillian and confronts him for running a sloppy surgery and injecting Donovan with an untested compound. Lillian tries to make Tommy understand the risks, worried that the knee will shut down the research institute because of his attitude. Lillian thinks that Tommy is becoming reckless and losing perspective, so she asks him to take a few days off and spend them at home with his wife Izzy. Tommy reminds Lillian that Izzy is the reason he is conducting the research. Tommy arrives at home and finds Izzy seated at the rooftop watching the stars. Izzy is happy to see Tommy, so she asks him to join her to stargaze. Izzy shows Tommy a gold star that the Mayans called Xibalba. Izzy mentions that the gold star is a nebula wrapped around a dying star that makes it appear gold. Tommy wonders how Izzy knows about the stars, and she jokes that she studied science in high school. She starts to explain that the Mayans believe that Xibalba is the place where dead souls go to be reborn, and mentions that she is writing about it in her book. Tommy is excited about Izzy's book and asks when he can read it. He notices that Izzy is barefoot on the snow and takes her in for a warm bath. During the bath, Tommy realizes that Izzy's sickness is progressing and she is losing sensitivity to hot and cold. He wants to call the doctor, but Izzy does not want him to since she is afraid. Tommy hugs her close and promises to be by her side always. She kisses him, and they end up making love in the bathtub. Antonio calls Tommy when he and Izzy are getting ready for bed and urgently asks him to head back to the lab. He arrives to find the team amazed at Donovan's recovery. Betty is happy to show Tommy Donovan's test results, but Tommy's main interest is suppressing the brain tumor. Antonio reports that there is no change in the growth pattern, which makes Tommy abandon the results and ask Antonio to prep another test subject. Tommy heads back home and joins Izzy in bed. She feels him hug her and asks if everything is okay, to which Tommy answers it is. He is unable to sleep, so he hides in his study to cry when he notices Izzy's book, The Fountain, on the desk. He starts to read it and is transported into the book. In the story, the Inquisitor is seated in front of a fire whipping himself and his back is bruised and bleeding. Someone knocks on the door and reports that the heretics have confessed, given their land to the Inquisitor's holy office, and are awaiting his judgment. The Inquisitor takes a map of Spain and smears blood on another piece of land, indicating that he will continue to conquer the land and is looking forward to killing the Queen. Meanwhile, Tommy, dressed in ancient armor, receives word that the Inquisitor's army has surrounded the Queen and is demanding blood. He directs the soldier to go warn the Queen while he heads to the Inquisitor's den, ready to kill him. He finds a perfect position for the assassination, but the soldier arrives with a command from the Queen. She demands an audience and orders Tommy not to kill the Inquisitor. Tommy arrives at the Queen's chamber, and we see Izzy now dressed as the Queen. She calls Tommy Conquistador and explains why she does not want him to kill the Inquisitor. The Queen tells the Conquistador that the reason why the Inquisitor started the coup is that she found something magical that would ensure Spain's prosperity forever. However, the Queen's quest for the substance made the Inquisitor afraid, and he started the coup when she failed to let go her desire for it. The Queen explains that they have a plan for survival and invites in Father Ivan. He shows them a dagger that he claims to be a map that can lead them to the Tree of Life. The Queen sends the Conquistador in search of the Tree of Life, giving him her ring to remind him of his promise to deliver Spain from bondage. She says that when he returns, she will be his Eve. Tommy jerks awake in the study, dropping the book to the floor, and starts looking for Izzy. He finds a note from Izzy asking him to find her at the museum. When he finds her, she is researching about the Mayans, but they have to leave since they have a doctor's appointment at 3. As Tommy heads out to bring the car up front, Izzy collapses, and he rushes her to the hospital. At the hospital, Izzy tells Tommy that she was not afraid when she fell. Tommy insists that he only needs a little more time, and he will find her a cure. Tommy heads back to the lab and finds Lillian with the Institute's senior executive, showing them scans of Donovan's progress. Tommy gets agitated because his concern is not with Donovan, and he had instructed the team to prep another test subject. Lillian tries to convince him that he should not abandon such promising results, but he is afraid that it might be too late to save Izzy. When he heads back to the hospital, he finds Lillian visiting Izzy at the hospital, and he waits for her outside. When Lillian leaves, Izzy tells Tommy about her wish to be buried in Lillian's land after telling him a story about a Mayan guide who believed that death is the road to all. Izzy gives Tommy a pen and ink and asks him to help her finish her book. Tommy says he wants Izzy to stay with him, and she promises to be with him always. Later that night, Tommy continues to read the book and is transported back to Spain. Father Ivan is standing in a jungle looking at the stars as he tries to understand the hidden map. It suddenly starts to rain, and Father Ivan notices a marking on the ground that shows him the direction of the hidden pyramid. Meanwhile, the soldiers have lost faith in the Conquistador, and a fight ensues. Most of the remaining soldiers and Father Ivan die in the fight, leaving the Conquistador to continue the quest with 2 soldiers. The beeping of machines wakes Tommy, returning us to the hospital. Izzy is in her last moments, and the doctors rush in to attempt to save her life. The nurses push Tommy out of the room, and he watches outside the doors as another elderly man loses his life in front of his eyes. Suddenly, Lillian arrives with good news. Donovan has fully recovered, and the brain tumor is shrinking. However, it is too late, and Izzy is already dead. At the same time, the tree inside the bubble also dies, and as the snowflakes fall inside the bubble, the scene changes to Izzy's funeral. Tommy goes back to reading the book, which ends abruptly after the Mayan chief stabs the Conquistador. He aggressively knocks down the bedside lamp and breaks the ink. Tommy starts to cry as he tattoos a circle around his ring finger. Using the pen and ink, Tommy, inside the bubble, traces his finger around the tattoos on his arms, each marking a year spent with Izzy. Back to the present, Tommy heads back to the lab to continue his research on Donovan and the mysterious tree. He reminds his team that their goal is to stop aging and dying. and they get to work. Suddenly, the lights go out in the lab, and we are taken back to the floating bubble, which breaks through the clouds and arrives at Xibalba. Tommy continues to talk to the dead tree, telling it that they almost made it. Izzy shows up and insists that he finishes her book. Tommy cries and falls on his knees, saying that he does not know how it ends. Izzy transforms into the queen and reminds him that he knows how to deliver Spain from bondage. It dawns on Tommy that to finish the book, he has to die so he and Izzy can live together forever. We revisit the opening moment as Izzy invites Tommy for a walk. This time, he chooses not to attend to Donovan's surgery and instead chases after Izzy. Inside the bubble, Tommy climbs the tree and enters Xibalba. When the conquistador faces the Mayan chief, he recognizes Tommy as the first father. He allows the conquistador to kill him, and he steps into the inner chamber to find the tree of life. The conquistador takes the sap from the tree trunk and smears it on the knife wound, closing it immediately. He continues to drink the sap, but instead of living forever, plants start to sprout all over his body, and the conquistador is buried in plants under the tree. Inside the bubble, Tommy wears the ring, and he dies when Xibalba explodes, giving life to the tree. Tommy plants a seed at Izzy's grave and says his final goodbyes. He tells her that he finished her book and everything is alright. The film ends,